This is our transformation panel. I'm going to introduce you all to these amazing people who have done some incredible things with their health. All right, they're here to inspire you. You plug into this, and you won't even need that extra shot of coffee today, all right? This is going to be all that you need. And we're going to be able to do some Q&A. All right, so if you have specific questions, you can line up at the mic, and we'll be able to get them answered from our transformation panel here live. And don't be shy. This is a safe space with your keto community, and we can get you some help, all right? So we're going to pass the mic down the row here, do a little what's my story round, all right? So why don't we start with you? Let's pass the mic right here.
Excellent. Hi, I'm Maggie. You guys just saw my story up in that video. I was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer spread to the brain in 2018. I was given 6 to 8 months to live, maybe up to a year because I was young and healthy and a non-smoker. My big hope was to see the ending to Game of Thrones. But I was still alive a year later, thanks to the fact that I'd found these metabolic therapies that have been proven to help cancer patients and outcomes, but are not standard of care yet. And my results have been so profound that my husband and I made that docuseries that you see, and we're looking forward to sharing everything we've learned with the world.
Hello, I'm Tammie, and I'm a 21-year cancer survivor at 35. Yes. I had one of the deadly ones, so I'm lucky to still be here, so every day's a blessing. At 35, I was diagnosed, and I taught health and nutrition, so everything I did was on fruits and veggies, and I thought that was going to save the world and cure it all, and I realized real quick that it wasn't. So I've pretty much converted over to carnivore, and Dr. Boz's Keto Continuum has saved my life in more ways than one, so as you'll hear by the end of this. And we just help our groups, and we share it with people, trying to help and give survivors other hope and other directions to go and change the world. And on the way home from last year, another blessing in this keto journey, I had a heart attack on the way home from this event. And my doctor's quote was, if I didn't have this keto chemistry, I would not be here today. So thank you.
Thanks so much for being here. My name's Brett, local to Austin. I never thought that I would publicly share my story because I think that I thought what I was going through was embarrassing, or why does anyone else really need to hear my testimonial? But I think a lot of us are here because we want to heal and we want to get healthy. And I think the incredible thing about diet and lifestyle is it proves that the body is one of the most resilient pieces of machinery ever created, and we can heal ourselves from these modern diseases. So for me, I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when I was 21 years old. So I played baseball at a really high level. So I looked like I was healthy, but my insides were kind of telling a different story. So I was going to the bathroom 20 plus times a day. There was blood in my stool. I ended up losing 30 pounds, getting rushed to the hospital, was in the hospital for a while, and was on medication that cost $400,000 a year. And by finding a carnivore animal-based diet, I was actually able to go into the bathroom like two times a day. Skin cleared up, energy got better, and I literally got off all my drugs and medication, and now I'm sitting here. I'm in the best shape of my life. So thank you.
Amazing. I'm like so fired up right now to be on this panel. You guys are incredible. My name is Freddie Kimmel. I'm also a cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with testicular cancer in 2006, and I waited and waited and waited to do something about it. So it ended up being 9 tumors in my abdomen, one that was surrounding the vena cava run into my heart, my left kidney, my abdomen was full of cancer. And I started with the traditional path of as much chemotherapy and as many surgeries as you could do. They opened up my chest and took all my organs out and put everything back. And after a year, I was cancer-free. And I thought that's when I would write my book and I would be a poster child for this piece of adversity. And the hits really just kept coming. I would rush to the emergency room and they'd remove feet of small bowel. I went through surgeries from 2006 to my last one was 2015. So it was really over a decade of being chronically ill. In the middle of that was Lyme disease and mold toxicity. So what I found is that allopathic medicine got me cancer-free, but I was on this wheel of life or death. And to get off that, I started using things like ozone therapy and the metabolic approach to cancer and photobiomodulation and pulse electromagnetic field and lymphatic drainage and all these therapies to allow the body to reset and use these self-healing mechanisms that already exist inside. So it was through this parking a wagon on the Valley of Death. I was like, I just built a condo there, and really learning through just the pedal to the metal, right? Diamonds grow under pressure. And now I advocate that message through a podcast, and just I yell it from the rooftops because I know it's possible. I know it's possible. I believe it in every cell in my body. So thank you for having me here.
All right. We're off to a great start. So I can make an educated guess that there's probably at least one person out in the crowd that is at the beginning stage of their transformation journey, whether it's a disease, like a lot of you have battled cancer, weight loss, depression, anxiety. So I wanted to lean into you and I would love if you could sit down and talk to you at your rock bottom. You just got the diagnosis. It just hit you in the face and you're in that moment ready to change. What advice would you give to yourself on day one of your transformation? All right.
I coach cancer patients sometimes, and the number one thing that I've learned and that I wish I knew is that on one hand, if it's cancer, it's not that urgent. The minute you find out it's inside you, you'll get it out, cut it, burn it, I don't care. But it's been with you for a long time, and you have time to heal. But how I think that extends to a larger part of life is there is an incredible urgency to take care of yourself now. Don't put it off for tomorrow or the next day. And I was able to apply this. You'll hear in my speech, I have terrible radiation necrosis in my brain. My doctor told me if they showed my scans to 10 other doctors, 10 doctors would say I'm a vegetable. But that was when I just came back from my yoga teacher training, 6 weeks and a solo trip to Indonesia. And so I've learned to take my time, understand that what I have to say is important and it needs to be said so that people can take action immediately and not to wait.
Well said.
I can reiterate what she says. As a cancer patient, I think we feel like everything is so urgent and you get so worried about what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And the biggest thing I wish I would have done and known earlier was to jump in with both feet and learn the keto chemistry correctly, not just drop some carbs and eat some packages that say keto, but to literally do it right. Feed your body the nourishment it needs, give your body the nutrients it needs to heal. We have a self-healing machine. God built us beautifully. Give your body the power to heal itself and accept the things you can't and deal with the things that you can change, but jump in with both feet and don't look back. And don't make excuses for yourself. That's another big thing, is I think people make a lot of excuses, and I can't this and I can't that. It's like, no, I want to live. And I think anybody that's had this diagnosis, those decisions are easy to make. Do I want pizza Friday? No, I want to live. And I take every decision that serious. And I think if I wish I could have done that years ago, I'd been much further ahead, much faster.
Yeah, I think just to build off of what Tammie said, so when I got diagnosed, I was 21 years old. I was going into my senior year of college, and I think that I thought, okay, if I just go on the drugs and the medication that they're giving me, that will get me to a normal point, not realizing that it was drinking, eating processed foods, being chronically stressed out. It was really the way that I was living that was causing me to have that disease. And if I really just very simply just took control of the food that I was putting into my system, I would be in such a better place. So prioritizing just cooking my meals, using really good quality fat like butter, beef tallow, good quality olive oil, prioritizing beef and chicken and fish and things that mainstream diet and nutrition is going to tell you is terrible for you is actually the most nourishing bioavailable food that you can actually put into your system. And if I had just done that, yeah, because we're not told the right thing, unfortunately, and gravitating towards those foods is really the thing that healed my stomach. And then I think the second piece is having this almost mental and spiritual belief that your body can actually heal too. I think that's massive So for me, I saw Dr. Sean Baker on Joe Rogan's podcast talking about the carnivore diet. He's going to be here this week. Amazing guy. And he was talking about all these other people with Crohn's, colitis, IBS, autoimmune disease that were effectively healing themselves. So for me, I'm like, all right, well, if these other people are doing it, why can't I do it? Why not me? So it's like that physical, tactical playbook, but then also the psychological and spiritual belief that, like Tammie said, the body's an amazing machine and you can heal yourselves and you can take a terrible event and make it the best thing that ever happened to you at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, I just, to build off of what everybody else said, day one of the transformation story, I would remind myself just to stay curious, to always be curious as new information comes forward, because that energy behind that action of curiosity is one that allows you through to see different doors, to take different options. And really for me, it allowed me to not be motivated by fear. I remember at 26 years old, every decision I had about my path through cancer was motivated by fear. If you don't do this, you will die. If you don't do this, you'll be crippled. You will never have this functionality again. And that's a terrible way to make decisions about your health from a place of fear. But if you can keep that curiosity in the room, and every one of us has that because we're all at KetoCon, right? We all want a little more. And if you can foster that sense of curiosity, you're going to make better decisions about your health. I think that's paramount to have. And just keep it in your heart and know that everything is possible.
That's really good.
All right. So the theme of KetoCon 2023 is hashtag hack your health. Hit us up, Instagram, hashtag hack your health. If you're all taking pictures and putting them on the gram, you better tag us all, by the way, all right? So I want to know a health hack or something that could be considered a health hack, even if it's like a simple thing, what you would consider to be a health hack that's working for you. Like, so for me, I bit into the cold plunge deal. I've been doing my cold plunge. I'm cheap, all right? So, and this is one of the primary reasons to follow me on Instagram. I'm 6'4", 225 pounds, and I squeeze into this little thing that costs $97. It looks like a thimble. And people are like, he's not going to fit in there, but I do. I squeeze my big old butt down in there. It's about 45 degrees, and I'm in there 4 days a week for 4 minutes, y'all. It's awesome. But I love the cold plunge. So that would be my little mini health hack. But I'd love to pick your brain and see if you have something, whether you're doing something nutritionally with some tech, something cutting edge or something very simple that you would consider to be a health hack. And if y'all are ready with questions, you can start lining up on the microphone there and we can get you involved as well. That way I can be quiet and let you guys run the show a little bit. All right?
Most of what I do, I think, is pretty common. Don't eat out. Make sure you eat the right food, get sufficient sleep. But the two that might be a little more unusual, number one is hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So my husband and I actually moved back to the U.S. just so we could get a hyperbaric oxygen chamber that we modded up to 2.0, which isn't technically legal, but if it's used, it's fine. And I did that for my brain necrosis, and it seemed to stop the progression. And then the other thing, just to deal with the inflammation that is so common in these chronic diseases we're talking about, is sauna followed by cold. And we also got a sauna. Bear in mind, we live in a 700 square foot, 1-bedroom basement condo, but the entire dining room is sauna, H-spot, and then we run to the shower for that cold. That's so healing.
I have a couple, actually. Sauna was ours. I'm a massage therapist, so my office, I am blessed enough to have my whole office, everything that biohacks my health. So if it helps me, I figure it's going to help my patients as well. So I do the sauna, and is that better? There we go. I do the sauna, and the other one I do is my body. I struggle keep making ketones, and Dr. Boz's pucker is just one of those things I have to keep sipping on them. It's not something my body just doesn't keep making ketones easily, so I have to stay very diligent, and sometimes I just have to biohack and help my body. Then my body will kick in eventually, but sometimes it just takes some time to get my body going in the right direction. And I need ones that don't have sweeteners or anything in them because those all affect me. So learning to do all that and read my own chemistry has been a blessing.
I think that's amazing. I think there are also a lot of people that are here that realize when I feel really good, I'm eating the right foods and I'm nourishing my body with the right foods. And I know for me with my stomach, it's like if I'm cooking my meals, I feel amazing. But then if I don't have access to those meals when I'm out, that's kind of when I get the temptation to like go get something from CVS or like go eat the crap in the airport. So I always just try and keep really good quality protein and saturated fat on me at all times. And a number of the products that I actually use are here at KetoCon, which is really cool. So like company like the Carnivore Bar, it's a modern take on pemmican. So it's beef tallow, it's salt, there's a little bit of honey in there, there's an unsweetened option. Carnivore Snacks is like a dehydrated ribeye chip that you can keep in a bag. Carnivore Crisps. So I just always try and keep really good quality protein and fat on me at arm's length. And then also bone broth has been huge for me too. It's something that's gotten a lot more popular the last couple of years. It's basically they take boiled bones and they turn it into almost like a soup, for lack of a better term. But it's incredibly nourishing on like the gut microbiome. It's great for your skin, hair, and nails because it's loaded with collagen. So literally I wake up in the morning and before I have coffee, I just heat up bone broth. I throw a little bit of butter into it. I blend it, and it almost is like, it's like the prelude to coffee, and it just sits really good in the gut, and it'll set you up for an amazing day. So I think just good snacks, good foods, keep them on you at all times.
Amazing. I'll go to left field. So a couple things that I absolutely love and I think are just very low levels of awareness as far as like functionality, full body immune system health is lymphatic drainage. I have a suit in my home called Flowpresso, which is a full body compression thermodynamic heat. So it does infrared technology heat, it does full body compression and deep pressure therapy, and we have 600 to 800 lymph nodes in the body. Each lymph node is like a little transfer station. Is this garbage? Should this be moved out? Is it a healthy cell? That is your body's, it's almost like the checkers at Walmart scanning each product, letting you know what to do with those cells. And it's a system that is so poorly serviced because of our lack of movement and our levels of stress. So the other thing I want to stack in there is just, we have to set the stage for healing. If you look at any story of radical remission from late-stage disease, you have to set the stage for healing. That is a parasympathetic nervous system. Americans, we overestimate what we can achieve in a day. First and foremost are our entrepreneurs and our business owners and our thought leaders in this health space. We need to be the ones that are embodying these practices and living it, not just talking about it. So nervous system tone and management, the favorite thing I have to do in the day, which is a go, no go, is gratitude journaling. I write down 5 things in the morning or I don't do anything else. It doesn't matter if I scribble them on a piece of paper, and it keeps me from ladder climbing to think there's better things in the day. I have everything that I need when I wake up. Everything else is a bonus.
All right, so after listening to you all talk about your amazing journeys, the through line that I'm getting is something I used to always preach back when I owned my fitness facility, and that is that you can basically accomplish anything if your why is larger than the combined force of all the why nots presented in front of you, right? And all those why nots, they happen all at once. So it's not just like, and here's one reason why you should quit. It's like, here's 1,000 reasons why you should quit. What you gonna do, big guy? So obviously, when you're facing disease, as you all have, and that's in front of you, the why is giant. And all the why nots, you're like, bring it on. Let's go. But as you have success, as it turns into a long-term success journey, you know, that you're healing. Like you're over that initial fear of the disease. And a lot of people in the health space and the transformation space, they struggle long-term because of that. They've lost a little bit of that why, a little bit of that motivation. So I'm interested to see what your why is made of now. Like what's keeping you going now?
I have stage 4 cancer. So I will never not have cancer. It may not show up in my scans, but I will always have it. But on the other hand, we all have cancer in our bodies. Our immune system just takes care of it. And so I want to make sure my immune system can continue to take care of it. Mainly so I live, but not for that, because I have purpose. And I've found that that has been so profoundly important to me. When I was first diagnosed, all I wanted was to be a good patient and to die well for my husband and my doctor and make them proud. And then God, it was a week later that I read Radical Remission. I was like, I can try these things. And so first it was just enjoying life. And for once, letting go of the stress of my job and saying, I have 6 to 8 months, I'm going to experience them in my body, pick up meditation, pick up yoga. And I found out I really like living. And so I want to keep doing that. And now it's really sharing this experience that I've had, because as crazy as it is, cancer is the best thing that's ever happened to me, because I learned this lesson. And I just want people not to force it on them, but to let them know that we have this option of living this way.
I think a big thing for the why of anybody, if you've been given a cancer diagnosis, I think it's one of those things that it changes your whole perspective. You know, choose your hard. Hard is being told you have cancer. Hard is not knowing if you're going to see your kids graduate. Hard is not knowing you're going to be able to see your husband again or have a dinner and spend it with the ones you love. That's hard. Hard is not giving up silly things. You know, pizza and a beer on Saturday is silly to me. That is not going to serve my purpose, and being alive is a hell of a lot better than the alternative. So I want to be here. So my why matters. And if you can't dig deep enough to find a why that matters to you, I really think then you need to stop and do some soul searching and figure out it's not that hard. You know, I always tell our group to stop when you say prayer around the table and look up. Look up from your plate for a minute and look up from your plate and look across the table and see the people that you know and love sitting at that table. And if they ask you, you know, oh my God, if you weren't there next year, nobody cares what's on your plate. They care that you're gone. So look up from your table. It's not about the food on your plate. You know, it's about the love around the table. And that is a big enough why to make every decision that has to do with ketovore, carnivore, anything, that it's enough to make it good and last. It's easy.
Yeah, those are such good answers, and I think that my why would probably be inspired by both of what you're both saying. It's I think a lot about what we could ultimately become if we choose to actually like nourish our bodies with the right foods and diet and lifestyle, and what you can become. So I see everyone up here, the diagnoses that they had, what they're doing now, speaking in front of everyone. Like that's a result of them making a conscious decision and choosing to lean into the right foods and the right lifestyle. So I think about someone here that's maybe like, you know, maybe you're 20, 30 pounds overweight, maybe you have IBS, maybe you have something you want to cure. Imagine that ideal version of yourself that's actually possible by being able to get your metabolic health under control. I mean, when I was 21 years old, I literally had no confidence at all. I didn't even know if I was going to go back for my senior year. And as a result of like leaning into the right foods, that ended up leading towards my best friend and I starting a podcast. We've recorded over 180 episodes, and we're now fully in this health space. So it's like you take a really bad event and you turn it into something good, but that's all possible because we choose to take food in control and really lifestyle under control too. So I just think for everyone in this room, it's like, imagine what you could do if you do that as well. Imagine where you could be 3, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, just continuing to go in and day out. And to Tammie's point, it's like, is that beer and pizza going to ultimately serve you on a Friday night? No, but there's also a world that's possible where you can have every bite of food be absolutely delicious and actually be good for you. Cook your meals, sit down with your family, your friends, teach them how to cook meals too. Like, this stuff should actually be fun. Like, that's the amazing thing about KetoCon and this whole lifestyle, is that there's no white knuckling involved here. It's like the most sustainable thing possible. So it just gets me excited thinking about what we can all do here. So thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I agree that cancer it's the best thing that ever happened to me. And I've had people say that is very activating, or activating is the word I use for triggering for them. And I never want anybody to go through the experience I did. And at the same time, my belief system, my values, the energy behind the action that flows in each day as a result of every day as a gift and feeling that in your bones, there's no amount of money that can buy that sense of purpose. We are the lucky ones. And the why on the other side, I'm always asking myself what healing is. In my head, I imagined that if I had a hyperbaric or I had enough money, that I would one day I'm going to be free from all this pain. You know, the 80 staples that are in my stomach holding my lymph nodules together are no longer going to cause me suffering, that I'll be able to go to the bathroom easily without a coffee enema. And I was making an agreement with myself that I will put happiness in a future date. And I was always pushing it off. And there was a time when everything solidified. I smashed that belief system with a hammer, and I changed it. I just changed it one day. And that's made all the difference in the world for me. So what is healing? Healing is just, it's the present of being present with yourself in the day-to-day. And if you cannot base your joy on your day-to-day fluctuations in health, you're going to be a light for other people. And that's what the world needs right now.
Indeed. Well said. And honestly, one of the best pro tips I can give you, being somebody that went on that journey to reclaim my health, the thing that kept me going was helping other people. If you're on kind of that brighter side of your journey, write your book, start your podcast, get your TED Talk. It's like if you've done a Tough Mudder race, once you get over the big muddy wall, reach your hand over and start pulling other people over. All right? All right, we got some people lined up for questions. You guys ready for this? This is the hot seat now because they're out there asking the questions. All right, I can't keep you safe. All right, here we go. All right, first question, go ahead and step up to the mic.
Hello, my name is Patricia, and my question for all of you is, what would you say to my children, my grandchildren, who don't have health problems, but still eat what they consider healthy foods? Thank you.
I'll go. The kids are a passion to me. I'm a grandma and I have 4 little ones, and my whole thinking in it is I'm going to plant a seed so that even if they're going to eat their stuff right now, they're going to have their treats and the things that I don't agree with. But I'm planting a seed enough in them that when they run into a problem later, and they will, life will happen sooner or later. Hopefully it's nothing catastrophic, but life will happen. Even if it's just, you want to lose 20 pounds to fit in your prom dress, or you're getting a cold all the time, or the allergies are kicking in. I want to plant enough of a seed that they know where to turn to and how to do it properly so that they can heal and grow and be healthy adults and hopefully not have to go through what all of us up here have went through. And you're planting that seed by leading by example.
I would just say to them, it's so powerful to remind everybody here that we get one body, right? We get this one vessel. We don't have control over a lot, but we do have control over what we choose to eat, what we choose to drink, and how we choose to manage our relationship with the outside world. When I was diagnosed with cancer, I was in New York City and I was pursuing a career as a Broadway performer. I'm a little theatrical. And so I had just booked my first show that was going to the Kennedy Center. I was getting ready to sing for the president. It was headed to Broadway. And I had to not take that job because I was scheduled for surgery and chemotherapy the next week. I mean, everything I had worked for my whole life was taken away from me because I didn't listen to my body. And I was eating the standard American diet, and that was a huge role in why I got sick. And so I would just offer that to your family and your friends and your kids that don't let your life choices, the few things we have control over, be the reason why your dreams are taken away from you.
Yeah, the only other thing that I would add to that is I would just focus on the things that you actually can control with your kids and try and make it fun. Like growing up, I was really fortunate. Italian mom cooked incredible meals for me. I would cook and share meals with your kids and be able to walk them through some of the ingredients and make them really delicious and show them not only is this food incredible for you, it tastes really good and we're all sitting down, we're enjoying meals. And it's if you can focus on being able to cook and prepare more meals for them, I think that's amazing. And then similar to my other answer before, I think when maybe you're sending them to school, instead of Lunchables, you give them a carnivore bar, some other healthier alternatives that are really delicious, but are actually healthy for them and fuel for them too. Because I was the person that I had amazing parents that cooked and helped me prioritize my health. And then when I went to school, I got away from those things and kind of led in that Western college lifestyle. And that's ultimately what got me sick. And then my return was just leaning back to these very basic principles of cooking your meals, prioritizing, animal dense protein. And I know something Dr. Baker says for his kids, because he has a bunch of kids, he just like loads them up on bacon and eggs in the morning and doesn't hear from them for like 4 or 5 hours. He's like, no, eat more. And they'll have like 4 or 5 eggs and a bunch of bacon, and that fat satiates them and keeps them going. So, yeah.
And I just want to reiterate, I was stumped by this question when you asked it because it's something I struggle with too. And I was so deeply blessed to have a mother that ate the way I do now. It was all organic, unprocessed, no sugar, no anything. And I thought she was mentally ill, and I rebelled against her so hard. And now there's the young person in my life that's very close to me, and I see the way she eats, and it breaks my heart. But I think just the advice from these panelists is going to help me. And planting that seed is the big thing, so that when they're faced with the crisis, they'll know what to do.
Thank you all very much.
Hey, great question. I've got another pro tip for you, too. I don't give my kids screen time if they don't eat what I tell them to eat. Just straight up. Like, no iPad for you, Henry, Hannah. Not for real, though. Like, we got to remember that we're the adults in the situations, and we buy the groceries. So the people that are shorter than us, if they're going to stay under our house, we can lay a few rules down on them. And let me give you a little transformation story. And I forgot to tell this at the beginning because I forget I'm in a safe space here at KetoCon. When I say what I'm about to say, in the normal world, or the whatever we call it, people start hating on me. You're like, what are you doing? So I've had my kids eating keto carnivore for like the last 4 years, all right? And check this out. My son is a 6th grader. He's almost 6 foot tall. He's 162 pounds. He can deadlift 225 pounds. He just bench pressed 135 the other day. Like we're doing all this stuff, and he's like, Dad, I need more chicken in my lunch, man. And he does, Dad, where's my fish oil? I forgot my liver tabs and fish oil. I'm like, this is awesome. Because now the ladies are starting to notice. I'm like the 8th grade ladies, not the 6th grade ladies. You know what I'm saying? 6 foot tall. So you can create, it's like investing in the stock market. It's like long term. Imagine if your parents had made you go keto carnivore when you were in 3rd grade and you'd been doing that your whole life. Holy Conan the Barbarian, I mean, like, ridiculous. I grew up on cereal and Diet Coke, like that's what I was eating, and microwave pancakes. So think about it as an investment, lead by example, and take away the iPad. Those are the rules, all right? Okay, next question up. Let's go.
Hi, guys. Thanks for being here. It means a lot to all of us. My name is Shirley Pugh. I am 74 and a half years old.
Right.
Thank you. That's my applause for surviving this long, I guess. And in my head, I'm 30 like everybody, You don't think of yourself as a little old lady. But I am also a disabled vet, so I know about pain. Yeah, I got a lot of spine crap going on. But anyway, so I started keto off and on years ago, and it was wonderful. And I remember doing Dr. Atkins in 74 to make sure I got my Air Force weight down to where it had to be. But anyway, my real question is, at my age, I don't find studies or thoughts by influencers or books or anything about people my age. What I hear is, oh, well, ladies over a certain age have to some extra conditions there. You really gotta, next person, please. It's like they're, and you'll see more of us. I mean, if I go out to outreach, I'm probably going to touch other vets, and I'm going to touch other people in over 55 living communities. But you're going to see more of us. And my nutritional hero, Dr. Ken Berry, says you've got to have vitamin P, patience. And that's what I'm having, and I'm feeling great. All my numbers are good. But what do you think about, is there anybody in this community who's going to talk about, it's different when you're older, but I'm going to live to be really old. So, Thank you. So what do you think? Have you heard anybody talk about how it's different for little old ladies?
Well, first off, I think you're about middle age, the way I'm looking at it. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's go.
I just want to share, my father-in-law is 83, I think, 83. And I will tell you, he lives this lifestyle completely, and he works circles around 40-year-old men. I mean, he's just a mini version of Lance, my husband, and they work together as such young people and young-minded. We keep his protein up. We make sure we keep, things going so he don't lose any muscle mass and things like that. But I'm telling you, just stick with it and do it and share it with everybody around you, because when you're feeding everybody around you that's your age, you all are going to live longer. So it's just cool. It's a win.
And I want to say, I think a lot of us know what it's like to get applause for being alive, but you've done so much more sharing this. It's incredible. And I just wanted to share a story. My husband and I recently worked with a woman who was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, because you find a lot of older people in the cancer community. And one thing she found is, in addition to her cancer going away, becoming operable, she also lost her arthritis and all these other inflammation issues that have disappeared. So I think we are going to see a lot more studies in the near future, hopefully very near. And the longevity communities that you're a part of, I think, are great. And to share your story as much as you can, just to inspire that change of heart in other people.
I think you had mentioned that you were struggling with patience. I'm just curious, are you saying that you just wish the results would come a little bit sooner or quicker?
Well, I've got terrific blood work. That's really good. But I still have visceral fat that I am struggling with. And it's been 6 or 7 months, with no change in that. Now, I'm a carnivore. So, thank you. But I mean, I am not going to, unless I just did a 3-week fast or something, which I've seen on the Curing Cancer YouTube things. So that's the patience that I'm looking for. But on the other hand, I feel great. I'm happy, and I'm doing fine. I mean, the visceral fat's not as healthy as if it was on your thighs and butt, right? So I'd like to get rid of that. So that's where my patient thing comes in.
Got it. That's where your goals are. Yeah. The only thing that I could say for myself is that when I first went carnivore, I saw immediate improvements in my GI symptoms, but to start to get to some of those body goals that I had for myself or whatever, because I had lost so much weight, it probably took me upwards of a year of staying really consistent with it. And I think the one thing with diet is I really do see such amazing parallels between nutrition and compounding interest of a bank account, where most people don't give themselves the time to actually have that compounding interest, because they do something for maybe a month or a couple months or 6 months, and then they don't see those immediate results, and then they just quit, where it's well, if you just kept going, imagine where you could be. So I don't know if that's helpful, but this was the first style of eating where I didn't give up so soon. I really leaned into it, because I just felt this calling that I could heal and have those goals that I ultimately wanted to have. And I think in terms of you impacting your older community, I think there's a parallel between the younger community, where there are a lot of people in their 20s where they just continue this lifestyle, and people looked at what I was doing and thought I was crazy. And I would never try and convince anyone. I would just kind of I would post on social media or just talk about what I was doing, but they would see the changes in my mood. They would see the way that I looked, and that would kind of make them lean in. So I feel for you, there's no reason why you can't be a leader in your own community too, by staying consistent and on your path. So thank you for being open and sharing that.
Well, you know what? I'm never going to change from carnivore. I mean, I don't care if I don't lose the other 15 pounds in my belly. This is me for life.
I love it. Has anybody ever seen Train with Joan on Instagram? Look up Train with Joan, because I want to say Joan started at 83 years old, and her physique is incredible. It blows my mind. This would be a great breakout room conversation, because I do think when we're looking at demographics, we got to look at what are the variables that are going to affect weight loss and building muscle, which is really when I'm hearing somebody, I've got a stubborn 15, it's the visceral organ fat that's not moving, my mind goes to lymphatics. That lymphatic system is going to help weight loss. That's a great stack. People will often do a cryotherapy, cold therapy with a lymphatic drainage suit, and they get great results. The other thing I think is the good new research coming out about converting that visceral adipose tissue to brown fat, which is more mitochondrial dense. And they're doing lots of work around ice baths. And now we're starting to see studies come out around implications on tumor growth, with our cold therapy, deliberate cold exposure. So another good person you can follow is Kristen Weitzel. Her handle is Warrior Woman Mode, and she does breath work and ice for the female physiology, meeting the nervous system where it's at. So that's another good reference point.
That's good. Thank
Great. Yeah.
Great resources. And if we really think about it, this keto boom has been happening for what, like 5 years? It feels like forever, but like the last 5 years it's been hot, right? So the demographic that jumped in right away, those are kind of our case studies right now. And now we need time for the younger generation, the older generation. Like, we're going to have more stories. And somebody like yourself, like, you should get out there, write your book, do your podcast, start an Instagram account and take us along your journey. And if you can't find the person or that resource, become it, you know? Get out there and go on your journey, share it, and let us all learn from you. All right, now you are in the right place, because, you know, the medical transformation, or the medical board that comes up here, the panel, come and ask questions, all these speakers that are coming up, you're in for an awesome ride here. So, and I heard you got like a ribeye tattooed on your biceps. Is that right? Carnivore for life. All right.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes.
Just, you know, because you do have a beautiful energy and a great story, and I look around at this field, and since I started podcasting 4 years ago, people are writing podcasts and doing books. We will get to a point where there's so much information, people are overwhelmed. So I do think this is the age of collaboration. It's building that team or community, and it's, where is your impact? Where's your zone of genius? It might be you being that, I'm the person in the grocery store who's walking up and advocating everybody for the beef snacks or the Epic bars. It can be simple, but I don't know if you've seen this story of where, like, they have this one little domino that's 3 ounces, and then they have one that's 3 tons. And it's this little impetus of force that knocks over the 3-ton domino. And that's what that is. That you putting your energy out there into your community in your unique way is going to have maybe more impact than a podcast, because you never know who you're going to affect.
All right. Next question. Go ahead and step up to the mic. You guys are doing great. Keep lining up. If you got a question, we'll get it taken care of.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here. 2 distinct questions. The first one being, my husband and I have 3 children. All 3 of them are vegetarian, and they're vegetarian by principle. At least one of them is already having health issues and have had to cut out gluten and other issues. And they don't listen to us because we're parents. But anyway, there are a lot of societal pressures that keep them in that field of vegetarianism. And I was wondering if there was a resource or Trojan horse of some sort that would allow them to hear the information and the rationale behind the carnivore diet or the ketogenic diet. And the other question I have is, having friends who are coworkers as well, who are deaf, is there a resource? I mean, we've learned what we've learned through constant endless stream of YouTube videos that have been tremendously helpful, but they don't have the same access necessarily to all of the subtitled videos. Is there any plan for helping that demographic?
Great questions. Can you just take away your kids' iPads? Or are they too old for that?
They're just a little too old.
That's my answer for everything. The iPad.
I'm going to
Do what I say.
from a
Break
totally
into their
different
apartments,
side.
but I would totally do it.
I was born and raised vegetarian. I didn't have my first bite of chicken. My husband made me eat chicken when I was 30. And then eventually I didn't have red meat until after I was healed of cancer. So I was completely vegan keto for the entire year of my healing. So it is possible. And for me, that was an important part of healing, but part of being a healthy person post-healing, but continuing to heal, is eating meat and making sure it's well raised. And I think looking deeply into it, it's so clear that the human body needs these things. Having a blood panel can show you, having her take a nutrition genome test would indicate that. And so just that education. And then in the meantime, knowing that as long as it's not processed food, it's still food, and there can be some benefits to it until she comes around. On the deaf side, I do want to say, Cancer Revolution will be completely subtitled and dubs. But in the meantime, I think a lot of YouTube videos do have subtitling. And I learned everything during my first year from books, which not everybody has the time to read, but can be a good resource as well.
As far as the kids go, I think it's one of those things, it's amazing when you teach them the chemistry and you teach them how to read labels. Teach them how, first of all, things shouldn't have labels. You know, what they're eating shouldn't be in a box with a label on it all the time anyways. Teaching them to empower them to make those choices is a totally different ball game than forcing it on them or pushing it on them or making them not do it. One of the things I always say is like, they can't eat it if I don't bring it into the home. So when they come to your house, it may not be at their house, but when they come to your house, here's the rules and here's what you do and here's what you eat. But it's such an empowerment when you teach them, so it's their choice and their decision. I mean, my grandson rocks out his keto mojo, knowing his numbers, and he calls me and tells me what his DBR is every day, his Dr. Boz ratio, because he's proud that he made the decisions that has his ketones working, his brain is working. My granddaughter drives a junior dragster. She wants to be the fastest one on that race course. She has her ketones working, and she knows how to do it. It's not that we forced her to do it. We let her make that decision and come to it. And now she knows if she wants to be the fastest person down there and beat the boys, she needs to be on ketones and have a proper chemistry and not a bunch of sugar in her. So it's their empowerment. It's like their superpower once they learn how to do it.
I think the other thing that's tough is that kids don't want to listen to mom and dad, unfortunately. I know when I played baseball, my dad would give me advice and I wouldn't listen to it. And then I would go to a hitting coach. He would tell me the same thing. And I would listen to him, but I wouldn't listen to my dad for whatever reason. So I think your head is definitely right of saying maybe I can share with them some correct resources. So my podcast, the Meat Mafia podcast, we've literally had on probably over 10 women that were either vegetarian, plant-based, vegan, raw vegan, that were so nutrient deficient that they ended up switching over either to like an animal-based diet, a keto diet, or a carnivore diet, and they all drastically improved their health. Taylor Collins and his wife, Katie Collins, they're the founders of Epic Bar. They're a meat bar that probably a lot of people have seen in Whole Foods. They were high-level triathletes, and his wife, Katie, was a high-level Ironman. And the doctor told her when she was raw vegan that she was either going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of her life or she was going to die because she was so nutrient depleted. And so they ended up gravitating towards like cooking a lot of really good quality fish and chicken and beef and drastically reversed their whole outcomes. So if you connect with me afterwards, I'll send you some of the really good podcasts. But I think just sharing with them some of these stories of people that tried the plant-based way and then ended up not feeling as good as they should have and ended up incorporating meat, they ended up feeling really good. The problem with being a kid is there's so much nutritional dogma out there because there's companies like Oatly and Beyond Meat that have these massive marketing budgets. So they're telling you that meat is bad for you. And also as a young person, you think that eating meat is not cool. But if you can focus on how good they could feel by incorporating these foods and just sharing really good stories, I think that would be a great starting point. I'd be happy to get you some of those podcasts. Yeah. Yeah. And in some of those podcasts, they actually like point holes at like the environmental ESG narratives that we've kind of been misled to believe around animal products. And it talks about regenerative agriculture. So I think that we could definitely point you in the right direction for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And near and dear to my heart, it's so challenging to watch someone really suffer and not be able to see it. Could be possible that it could be a result of what you're putting in your body or your belief system. There's nothing so powerful as embodying the change that you want to be in the world. Everybody's met a person that's so infectious and their skin is glowing and they look so strong. And you're like, I want that. That's what I want. That is going to be your pivot point, right? You just living it and doing it and being it and breathing it. I mean, as a kid, I would never listen to anything my parents said to do, ever. That was the last place I would go for advice. But you've really just got to, I also think I struggle with this, wanting to advocate for things. And at the same time, I don't want to save you from the disease state or the malady or the adversity you've called in to allow your soul to grow. So sometimes it's just bearing witness. I speak about that as a human being without kids. So I know it's different to have a little soul walking around outside of your body. So I deeply empathize with that. Yes.
So from a business perspective, let's think about this. No one likes being sold to, but we all like to buy stuff. So when you approach your children, I think about it like a business transaction. Like, I can't be selling them. I have to lead by example. I have to show them the benefits. I have to live the benefits. I have to bring excitement, sharing, just gentle stuff like that, playing the longer game, not, you don't want to be that couple that invites your friends over, then you pitch them on like a network marketing scheme. You know what I'm saying? It's like, let's go have dinner, and I have these new things that I'd like to be my business partner. So we don't like to be sold to, and our children don't either. They can smell that coming from a mile away. So live the benefits, share things, be an example of the type of lifestyle that you think they may need to inspect, and just, take the long road. All right? Great answers, everybody. Next question. Let's do it.
Good morning, guys. Name is Patrick. Just wanted to see if y'all have an opinion about steam saunas versus infrared, given that infrared is so new and it's very challenging to find a steam sauna anywhere now unless you buy it yourself. Do y'all have an opinion on that, or infrared?
I have an opinion on everything, Patrick.
Let her rip.
But no, I've done a lot of research myself, especially before buying the sauna. In my opinion, and there's so little research out there, guys, so this isn't, for sure. But I do feel that the heat sauna without the steam tends to be preferable, just getting your body to work out the toxins. That's most of the studies that have been done by people like Dr. Rhonda Patrick, looking at detoxification from saunas. And that includes infrared saunas. Personally, I would go the ancestral way if I could, but you can't it's very expensive to have a traditional sauna. So infrared is what we looked for. If you feel like you're going to use a steam sauna more often, that's when I get what you're actually going to use. So that's my answer. Whatever you're going to use more, all things being equal, the infrared.
I think in them too, it's just one of those things. Use what you have access to. Anything's better than nothing. So don't stress over getting it. Just get one. And if you can afford the other one and have access to the more powerful ones, that's great. But if not, do the best you can do.
Yeah, I think to build off that, just the acute stress from the sauna in general is going to be incredibly beneficial. I sauna almost every single day, and I use the dry sauna at the gym because that's what I have access to. 15, 20-minute rounds. There's a cold plunge, so I get in the cold plunge. I used to not have access to that. And I think just being able to consistently get in there day in and day out and sweat and detoxify and have the mental and energy benefits is amazing. I've probably only done the infrared like 3-4 times, but the dry sauna is fantastic. So just get what you have access to and use it.
I'll add on that. I also have strong opinions on sauna. And first of all, it's go get in a sauna. If you want to live longer, go get in a sauna. The research is profound, and most of the research is on a traditional sauna, a Finnish sauna. In the last 2 months, I just put out an article on beautifully-broken.world on a traditional sauna versus an infrared, and there is some anecdotal small research to support the idea that an infrared sauna's wavelength has the ability to disrupt the covalent bond of a heavy metal inside a cell. So it's small, and this was measuring sweat and toxicants off different human bodies. Robbie Benson over at Therasage knows the study. So they're here, so you could go ask Robbie. I've always found that when I went through Lyme and biotoxin illness, the infrared sauna had such an impact on my joint pain, it was different than a traditional. Now today, I will tell you that the ceremony of building a log fire in the traditional sauna that we have around the corner and having community in there is like, that medicine of community is like, you can't quantify that. So I think, again, whatever one you're going to get in, but go talk to Robbie.
This is the best panel. You answered my question. Thank you. Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you.
And another resource when it comes to heat and cold therapy that I really enjoy is the Huberman Lab podcast. Andrew Huberman, it's awesome. Anybody that's got like a 25-inch neck and is a podcaster, you're like, yeah, that dude knows what he's talking about. He's like Henry Rollins up there. So Really good episodes on heat and cold. Let me give you a quick, fun podcasting story. This may inspire some of our other my pod pals up here. When I had my health podcast, I did this little strategy on Instagram. I'm like, I see things on Instagram stories. I ask them for those things for free because I'm a podcaster. I got a $5,000 infrared sauna for free delivered to me because I asked for it because I was a podcaster. So let's go. You know, get in those stories.
Tonight. I'm asking.
It doesn't hurt. I got all kinds of gadgets, protein bars, whatever. So hashtag podcast wins, right? But I love my infrared sauna. I do the steam sauna as well. I already talked about the cold plunge. And if you just start talking about these things, the little secret person inside your phone will read that, and they'll start sending them to your Instagram stories, and you'll have lots of options. So, all right, next question. Here we go.
Good morning, guys. I'm really enjoying this conversation. Very, very helpful, great value and content. My name is Stu Weinstock. I'm from beautiful Miami, Florida. And I've been really inspired by the discussion about ulcerative colitis by the gentleman who expressed that he had that situation for many years. I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when I was a teenager. And of course, I'm a lot older now. I found what worked for me in switching over to keto and carnivore was eliminating dairy products, eliminating nuts, nut flours, nut butters, of course, keeping my carbohydrates down quite a bit, certainly, and keeping with nutrient-dense proteins, always leading with that. But my question is, the tweak that really helped me a lot was eliminating caffeine products, lo and behold. When I eliminated the coffees, the bulletproof coffees, any product that contained caffeine, that helped my situation. My colitis to this day is very much under control. And my question to your panel is, what is your take on eliminating the caffeine products? My feeling is for a lot of the clients that I coach keto for a couple of years now. I find that if someone uses caffeine products, it tends to escalate the glucose levels, the insulin levels. What is your take on that? Has it been helpful for any of you for eliminating caffeine?
I'm disqualified. I had an issue that predates my cancer that I haven't had caffeine for a long time.
I'm not disqualified on this one. I loved my morning coffee. I loved my morning cream in my coffee. Let's just rephrase that. I like cream with a shot of caffeine in it. And lo and behold, I used my heavy cream, and I thought all this time I have been blaming my bad DVR, my bad insulin numbers and glucose numbers on the cream. I removed the caffeine because my heart cardiologist the nurse that helps me at rehab, whatever she's called, told me to stop having the caffeine. And I'm like, okay, nobody ever told me that, but okay. You know, I don't have it often all the time, but I like it when I do. And now that I went off the caffeine, my heart rate is staying down. It is a total different ballgame with my numbers. And it's not the cream that was messing me up. It was the caffeine all the time. So I think each body is different. And I think that is exactly what you got to learn, what bothers you and what don't, because there's no one size fits all.
Yeah, that's great. I love coffee. I drink a lot of coffee. It's probably my biggest vice. I probably drink 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day. But what I'll preface that with is when I was recovering, I was either drinking a cup a day or I really wasn't, or I was just cutting it out because my body needed to heal. So I think that's the amazing thing about, a removal diet like something like carnivore is you're taking out all these possible triggering inputs and just kind of removing them altogether. And then I was keeping a food journal too. So which seems a little bit extreme, but I think if anyone's trying to heal, just making a note of the meals that you're eating, when you're eating them, and just kind of noticing your symptoms. Do your energy levels feel good? Do you feel the urge to go to the bathroom, especially if you have IBS or colitis, Crohn's, whatever, stomach issues? You need to be tracking a lot of these stuff to figure out what might be triggering you. And I found that coffee did have a little bit of a trigger, but I think now I've gotten my stomach to such a good spot. Now that I have resilience in the body, I'm able to incorporate caffeine. And for me, it's like if I feel like I am having some issues with my stomach, I just pull it. And then if I feel really good, I'll incorporate it back in. I actually found that when I wear a CGM, if I throw raw dairy, unpasteurized dairy in the coffee, it doesn't spike my blood sugar at all. So purely anecdotal, but it seems like you have a great read of your body where you know that like when you're drinking more coffee, you don't feel great, but you have that kind of intuitive approach to it, and I think we're very similar to that. And congrats on getting your stomach in control. That's huge.
Thank you.
Yeah, incredible. That's a win. Whenever I hear somebody ask, what do you think about this for you and your body? Like what you did was you understood that your body has you have a true north compass, and it's your heart. And you have to trust your body. Well, what works for you might not work for me. What I'm always reminded of is like how many bacteria, mold, viruses are in my body. It's like they're calling the shots. So I always think about the interface of the quantum computer. If we think about mouth to anus with the outside world, taking in information from the coffee bean or a mycotoxin or a protein. If your body's reacting or responding, we have to meet the body where it's at and we have to change. I've gotten myself in some really serious ruts from being hyper restrictive with food. I told myself a story that's bad for me, and I kept it out for years and years. On 15, 20 years down the road, you might find you're nutrient deficient because you do that. So again, I'll go back to that idea of staying curious about your body. And you might find there's a time when it fits in, or maybe it's the cream, but we've got to put it on our energetic field and make it fit for us. Thank you.
I love the concept of a food journal, tracking what we're eating, being very mindful of what we're eating. That's an excellent concept. I've done that, especially when I've gone off track. And some of us at times, do go off track. It's human nature, where we get back on the train as quickly as possible. But and my background is psychology. I'm a psychologist. So to me, I recommend to a lot of my clients the food journaling, putting down what you're eating each day. Be mindful of it, relish and savor each bite. Don't eat fast, and don't eat standing up, which is, I think, one of the biggest killers of a diet or a lifestyle, when we eat standing up in a rush, especially going into the refrigerator. So anyway, thank you for that. The Keto Journal, the journaling is very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, go ahead and step on up. Next question.
Thank you guys so much. This is awesome. My name's Josh. I'm a registered dietitian. I'm going to be a little controversial with this question, but I think you're good for it. With everything going on globally, specifically in Canada and Australia and New Zealand, with the mRNA stuff happening with proteins in animal-based products, where then are you going to be searching for animal-based nutritions if you don't want to go the route of the mRNA being injected into meat?
I'm going to start with this because, as I mentioned, I was plant-based for so many decades. And a big part of the reason I wasn't eating meat during my healing is I was living in Hong Kong. And I did not trust the source of the meat I was getting. And for me personally, and it will have to be a personal decision for you and everyone here, I think it's making sure that you are getting the quality of meat that is really going to be healing to you. And so for me, it required moving to a different country, only sourcing from ranches that I've visited, that I know is humane, and I know exactly how they're being raised. And it takes a lot of work. But at the other side, it's feeding yourself should be a lot of work. It shouldn't be cheap and at the grocery store. It should be acknowledging what that animal has gone through to give you the sustenance and life. And so my answer is, yeah, it's going to be hard, but I think it's worth doing.
I think another thing is we're blessed to live in a little farm community, and it's one of those support your butchers, support your local farmers that have the direct content of what is going into those animals and things like that. I love that we live, it's a little hick town, but we have access to the fresh cream, the fresh meat, the fresh eggs, all of that. And I think all those things are just huge when you can move forward and make that a part of your everyday diet and not worry about it. So some of us can have that little luxury, or I'm going to tell my hubby we need to buy a cow. I mean, it's just one of those things. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, my prediction over the next 5 years is I think that it's actually going to be essential for everyone here to have a relationship with your local rancher or farmer. there's an amazing website called eatwild.com that will literally let you search by zip code if you want meat, if you want eggs, if you want beef, and it will show you the exact farms in your area. And the whole purpose of that is like to be able to get as close to where the food is being grown as possible. And then you can actually ask your rancher these questions. You know, do you guys vaccinate? Are you finishing the animal on grain versus grass, which will affect the nutrient density of the meat itself? The whole point is like you have that relationship. You can trust them. You can trust the lineage of the cattle, how they're being raised, how they're being grown. And I think that that could be overwhelming for some people. So I think that if you're on a starting point, just going to your local grocery store and shopping the outer aisles of the perimeter is great. And it's going to make your health 99% of the way better than most people. But to take that next step is actually finding a local rancher where you can source beef from. And if you're buying it individually, it might be a little bit more expensive, but also you can buy beef in bulk from a rancher. You could buy a whole cow, you could buy a half, you could buy a quarter, you could buy an eighth. And on a per pound basis, a lot of times it's actually cheaper than just buying steaks at the grocery store. And it's really delicious. It's nutrient dense. It has this like ruby red color to it almost. So for me, it's like, just make it really simple. I don't even want to have to worry about these questions. I want to just find a rancher that I have a trusted relationship with and just let it take care of itself.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'll just speak to sourcing and the idea of outside world, inside world. You know, there is so little control that we have of outside world, period. And we're going to find that as our economies are so interrelated and we go through all these changes over the next few years. I'm reminded of there's one famous study in which women were given either Dianabol or the sugar pill, and of course they were both told they were given an anabolic steroid, and the women that got the sugar pill had like a 425% increase in muscle growth. So the belief system that we hold around what we're eating and if it's good or if it's bad is so powerful internally. So I tend to use that as a superpower, especially if I got to eat out and I know it's not ideal. You know, it's that energy. It literally sending your hands over the food and doing a little clearing energetically of my plate. I do that. I'll look like that weirdo in the restaurant. The other thing I do is a very practical to speak to what you're talking about is it's all inflammation. If you manage inflammation, you win the war. So one thing that I like to travel with, I travel with a humic and fulvic acid. The one I use is from Cellcore. It's called Carboxy. And it's going to form a covalent bond with anything environmentally that I eat. That's glyphosate, that's mycotoxins in my food. I just do that when I go eat. The other thing I do a really high quality mineral that has a high voltage in it. A humic fulvic 400 from Mother Earth Labs in San Antonio. I just add that to my water when I'm out, and it's going to give the body the extra charge and extra voltage for additional ATP to process any type of a stressor that I'm going to have when we're going to be faced with unideal food quality over time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other hunters out there? Anybody sit up in a tree, take care of business? That's what I do. I get up in the tree with my bow and arrow. I text my bro, Robert Sykes, hey, you seen anything? No. You got anything yet? No. But, I mean, if you live in a state where you can get up in a tree, get out the bow, and respectfully harvest an animal and fill up your freezer, that's a great way to control your diet, you know? If you get an elk or some venison going, use every part of that, enjoy that heart, enjoy that liver. In my family, we fight over the heart. Who gets the heart today? Who gets to slice that up? So, I've completely got my kids brainwashed at this point. You're realizing, you want that iPad, eat some heart. So, and it's very rewarding, you know, being able to scout the animal. And I go out with my kids and my father. And it's a whole experience. Hunting isn't for everybody, but if you're a carnivore, I highly recommend experiencing it at least once. All right, get good with whatever weapon of choice so you can respectfully, you know, do what you need to do. But that is an option that I think we need to start considering, and it can be pretty rewarding for the full-scale carnivore lifestyle. All right? Cool. Next question.
Hello. Thank you very much for speaking here today. It's been very educational, and I'm very grateful. My name is Suzanne Strasburger. I'm the 5th generation in the wholesale meat business. They call me Susie Sirloin. So I sell a lot of meat, and the meat that I sell is also the meat that I eat, that I serve my family and friends. that just helped me lose 50 pounds this year on the carnivore diet. But the reason I'm up here today speaking is because I get all the reports about the meat in America, and I'm on the biggest boards. And I want to just be very clear that the livestock mRNA vaccine has not been used or licensed in the United States. I can't speak for other countries. I can only speak for America. Thank you.
All right. So she's saying, how do we continue to support that being that way? Go back in that mic.
At this point, the largest meat companies in America are not supporting it.
All right. Yeah, talk to the people that are making decisions on this. I'm not that smart. I don't know. All right. Final question of the day. No pressure.
None.
But it's good. I've heard this is a great one. All right. They radioed in. I don't have any preset. All right, let's go.
My name is Mary. I am so delighted to be here. I started keto 16 months ago, and I am learning so much from what you have said. Thank you. My question is that I have a 7-year-old grandson, so I have no control over what he eats and doesn't eat. But he is extremely allergic to all carnivore foods. He can't eat bacon, he can't eat eggs. So he eats chicken nuggets and French fries. I know I am modeling, and I talk to my kids about it, but when your grandson has an allergic reaction and his throat closes up and they have Benadryl that they give him, his parents do, and they're very attentive. How do you approach that? As a way to persuade or... It's scary.
All right, I'll try.
We got the clock down here.
Okay,
just
I'm
for
trying.
reference.
I have a family full of allergies too, and my son was one of them. We had to deal with all of it. But when you get the inflammation under control, it's amazing how those allergies, first of all, just start to disappear, and they'll gradually just not be an issue any longer. But it's learning how to control the inflammation in his body. And, you're just going to have to take it one step at a time. If you don't have control over him, that is harder as the grandparent. But it's try to educate the parent that it's an inflammation problem and the histamine problem of the reaction of the allergies. Like, how can you be allergic to chicken, but you're not allergic to a chicken nugget? I mean, there's, there's something goofy in that, that get to the root of the problem and try to fix it would be the best. But being the grandparent, it is hard because you don't have that final say. You got to empower them and encourage the kids to do the best they can do. And just, again, keep leading by example. And I applaud you for doing that.
Thank you.
Other thoughts?
So is he able to eat chicken or any other animal products?
He can eat chicken nuggets. He doesn't eat chicken. He doesn't eat eggs, bacon, beef, lamb, none of it.
Because he has a reaction to all those other
Yes, he
other
does.
foods. I don't know if this is helpful, but I just started. I just make healthier additions to some nuggets and other foods where I'll get like a really good quality. Like I'll chop up the chicken, I'll get a good quality egg wash. Like kind of have like a carnivore seasoning that I use. Like good quality, like a little bit of good quality flour, and it tastes better than anything that I would get into a store. So I just wonder. I would have to think that there could be some like alterations to the foods and the dishes that he could eat that maybe you could incorporate a little bit more just to make those things fun for him.
That's an idea. They do have chicken and ducks in their backyard. They're doing that, but he can't eat that stuff.
Yeah. There's an account that I use. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. His name is Cal Will Cook It, and I'll send you his YouTube and his Instagram. But he does all these like healthy renditions of nuggets and wings and foods that kids really like. But he prepares them in good quality oils. He doesn't bread. He does everything the right way. And that's actually where I've gotten a lot of my dishes from when I'm kind of craving some of those other things. So I feel like that could be a good resource for you with your grandson too. And it's Cal Will Cook It. So CalWillCookit.
Thank you.
I have to preface this with that I'm not a medical doctor, but I had this fabulous interview with a woman, Michelle Slater, and Michelle was seeking out medically assisted suicide because she was allergic to water. Her immune system was so fired up that her throat would close. Every food she would eat, her husband at the time had traveled to Russia to seek out this doctor, and what they were going to try is a dry fast, an extended dry fast. And her book is called Starving to Heal, and she did a series of extended dry fasts. I think she did a 10, a 7, and a 9. No supplements. She just skied on the Alps. This woman is completely healed from all of these different conditions, and part of within this dry fast was a lot of the mental emotional work and realizing that the things you're telling me, that is a signal from the brain. The other book I tell you to look up is The Body Keeps the Score, in which they have just case studies of where someone's behavior change and their eye color will change. When it's that severity of a reaction to a food, in my belief, the nervous system is involved. So I would start there.
I just want to throw in there real quick. Make sure to, with the kids, a temper tantrum is an allergic reaction. They will survive just throwing a fit because they want what they want. So make sure you know if it's an actual allergic reaction or is it just a temper tantrum because they want what they want. And they'll get over that real quick. They really will.
He has actual hives on his belly. Can't deny that.
KetoCon 2023.
Thank you.
Great questions from the audience. Give it up for our health success panel right here.